Hi, everyone. This week on Women Who Rise, I'm joined by entrepreneur, investor, and founder of Friendsgiving Live, Kareen Mills. We talk bankability, confidence, leadership, and the exact mindset shifts that helped her rise from the banking world to building a global movement. It's powerful, it's actionable, and it's one of the most inspiring conversations of the season. Hit follow. This one's going to change you. Hello and welcome to Women Who Rise. I'm your host, Heather Mansy. Today, my guest is Kareen Mills, a former banking executive turned powerhouse entrepreneur, investor, and the visionary behind Friendsgiving Live, a global movement rooted in storytelling, generosity, and women's empowerment. Known as the People's Banker, she's a bankability strategist who has spent over 2 decades helping small business owners become financially strong, profitable, and lender ready. She's also the creator of the top-ranked Being Mother Hustler podcast and a champion for women rising through both personal healing and business leadership. Today, Kareen leads multiple ventures, including Bottom Line Business Solutions, while inspiring audiences with her message that your story is your greatest asset and your success begins with owning who you are. Please help me welcome the incomparable Kareen Mills.
Wow, that's amazing, Heather. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I'm honored to be here hanging out with you for the next 45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I am excited too. And I'm so excited for our audience to get to meet you. We have mutual friends, and it was a real pleasure to be able to spend some time with you prior to the show and to be able to talk about some of the things that we're going to discuss today. So as you know, it's Women Who Rise, the Success Podcast. So much of what you're up to. We have many, many entrepreneurs. We have real estate agents. We have corporate executives. We have so many people in our audience who I think can benefit from your wisdom. So let's jump right in. When you think back to your earliest career memories, whether in the Philippines or your first days in banking, which experiences shaped the way you show up today as the people's banker?
I can vividly remember this part of my career where, I started as a bank teller, and when you're a bank teller, you're in the front line. You're a frontliner. So you get to see people's behavior around their money as you're the one that's doing the transaction. You get to see on the other side what that looks like as a reflection of that individual. Because, you see people as an individual, and then your first impression of them is always their physical appearance, right? And so I would see what looks like a successful person in how I was raised. And I think we install a lot of the things how we were raised. And I call it conditioned, how we were conditioned to sort of create this image of a person when you see them right away as the first impression. So I would see a lot of people that maybe dress to the nines and they just look so rich.
Yeah.
And then when I look at their bank account, they're begging me to reverse overdraft fees.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw the contrast between what a person that I think would look like as a rich person based on my conditioning and what really is happening in their bank account. And most of the time it's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I created this, the ecosystem that I have is basically to help women how to really respect their money, especially business women, because it's very stressful and it really doesn't feel good for you to be rolling in any banks and you are dressed to the nines and then you're begging your teller or your banker
Yeah.
to reverse multiple. And it's not just multiple. Most of the time, the same people will be I call it serial overdrawer,
Yeah.
where it's not just this month. It always happens. They always roll back in every single month. So those are always the serial ones. And while I installed that in my life, I always feel like when you are given information, you're supposed to take that information and you're supposed to be the flow through of that information to teach others what you've experienced so they don't do that. They don't experience that. Um, it's awakening. It's an awakening. And then it connected to my experience with my mom. I watched my mother struggle as an entrepreneur. So I always say I made it my life's mission to help women and entrepreneurs just like my mom. I thought becoming a
Yeah. And
bank VP and
yeah, and I'd love to hear more about that as well, as we dig into this, because there is a huge guiding force, I think, behind some of your wisdom and some of your why, as to what led you to be able to do this. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about with regard to this, and I think it's so informative to say, the outside of us doesn't always determine what's legitimately going on in our bank account or maybe in our level of success. And what you really mentioned also about that kind of serial, overdraw or overdrafter was that, people can find themselves in patterns. They can find themselves in, repeat scenarios where there's something stuck there. And I think I know that you have found ways to educate people to break some of those patterns and to be able to add value to them, that they can literally change some of that regular behavior that is not that's not serving them. So was there a defining moment, professionally or personally, when you realized that your story wasn't just something you lived through, but something that you were meant to teach, to share, and to build a movement around?
yeah, it's always my mom. Everything that I do is a living tribute to my mom. And
Uh,
when I say living tribute, that means she's still around and she's traveling, from one child to another. My brother lives in the UK and my sister lives in LA and my other siblings live in the Philippines still. So she's traveling and she's doing her rounds. But,
I love.
it's my defining moment is definitely my own adversities. When I came to America from the Philippines, I always say I went from broken English because I already came here at 21 years old,
Yeah.
uh, broken English to broke in 4 months because
Hmm.
of the fact that we were sued, and we, meaning me and my dad, were sued through a personal injury lawsuit, and it was $18,000. And 18,000 today is still a lot of money, but in 2000, when we were only here for 4 months and we were getting sued and we had nothing, right? My first ride, I always say, my first ride is a $20 bike from a garage sale. And, many people don't really connect the dots as good as I connect the dots. And I feel like our adversities are that defining moment you call,
Mhm.
and also the opportunity. I see it as an opportunity to advance my life, my career. And so when I went through that, I didn't know what to do with the lawsuit. I put it on the side and then it kind of aged out. So I started getting phone calls at Wells Fargo where I worked, to harass, like, the lawyers on the other side harass me. That right there made me very upset that I didn't understand what the insurance system looked like. So
Yeah.
I just said one day I'm going to become an insurance professional that my father never had. So a lot of the defining moments, I just say it out loud and then it shows up, it loops back around in the future.
Yeah.
So I met my husband in Las Vegas at UFC 52. When I moved to the Northwest, obviously I had 401ks, I had insurance, I had everything to transfer. And because it's a different state, and he referred me to a local State Farm agent. And that kind of led me to, that was 2008-ish, around that time. Um, or actually I moved here in 2006. So when you hear my story and the adversities that I've had, they really were the impactful event in my life that defined who I've become. And by simply saying one day I'm going to be the insurance professional my father never had, it's really what happened was he signed an exclusion form to exclude me, but he didn't understand what he was signing. And then he handed me the key to drive the car, and I got it in a 25-mile-an-hour head-on collision accident. And so we were both named in the lawsuit. When I moved here, I met with a local State Farm agent that was building a building, and my career has always been commercial loans, building loans, all of that stuff in banking. That's where I grew up to become in the banking world. And so I didn't even have a job then because I just moved. I started kind of courting them for the business because I knew I was going to get a job. And so it's good to develop that business before you even get the job. I've always been a next step kind of person where, okay, what's my next step? Even though I'm living today at that moment that I didn't have a job, I know in the future I'm going to get a job. It's good to have a pipeline. I'm always working ahead of what the future looks like to prepare myself. So
Fantastic.
then I started courting them. Once I got a job, I went there every single week to court them, or any kind of holidays. I used it as an excuse to swing by and say hi. And while I didn't get the job or the construction loan, I got a offer to be recruited for State Farm. So the husband works there and said, Kareen, you're very persistent. You're assertive. You should look into owning insurance business. So I'm like, I have a story about this. I said, one day I'm going to become an insurance professional that my father never had. And so every step of the way of your life leads you to your becoming if you notice it.
Yes.
You have to notice it, to acknowledge it, why, and not live in it and let it eat you alive.
That is so good and so profound, really, because it's like you said. I think the difference, and as I was listening to you, I was thinking the difference is that you were present to it that entire time. It was something that you were realizing, and you were making definitive statements about your future reality, and you were knowing, I think, and being conscious of it the whole time. When we talk about life by design, it's a matter of being able to be conscious of what's motivating us, maybe eliminate, things that are stopping us, but also really being, conscious of what's happening and how we want our future to play out. Saying I want something is just not enough, but being able to be open to how your own motivations and your own struggles are maybe leading you to something that creates synergy. I think that's incredible. You've navigated corporate banking, entrepreneurship, investing, and now major live events. What was the challenge that fundamentally reshaped you, not just your business around that? How did that transformation become part of your rise? And I am thinking about struggles that you had along the way. You built a website and a brand name. I know that has changed, necessarily because of some changes, and you've been very vocal about that. How has reinvention along the way informed where you are today?
Reinvention comes from your actions. So when you are downloaded the idea of something, I think many times, especially women, we want to get a lot of answers before we take action.
Yes.
For me, I've always just needed one answer, and then I take action, and then I get led to the second answer, and then I take action, and then I get led to the next answer. Like the answers are in the actions. So,
Amazing.
so when I started Friendsgiving Live, and since you talked about my live events, bless you, when I started Friendsgiving Live, I was just telling my son's home from college, and I was just telling him, like, I'm super spiritually matured as a human being, and I acknowledge a lot of the flesh behaviors that we all go through, worries, uncertainties, fears, all of that. I acknowledge all of that. I'm human. I go through it. But my spiritual maturity says that when there's an adversity based on my experience, I get really excited about it. It's kind of twisted in a way that, like, Like I was talking to a woman the other day about her life, and she said she's not there yet. She's going through divorce. And I said, don't take this very wrong, but I'm really excited for you. And, I know you won't see it while you're in it, but I'm excited for you because a lot of the answers you've been looking for are being withheld because you haven't moved. And so it's the movement that you make that creates that answer and shows you clarity. So, with that being said, when I started Friendsgiving, there was no intention of ever doing it every year. I just wanted to, because of my desire to be served by others, I also have desire to serve others because of my experience watching my mom struggle as an entrepreneur and no support. I want to be that for my mom. But since I'm paying it forward, I can't go back in time and do that for my mom. It's always serving my mom when I serve others. So if you can just look at the people that you serve as the person that you love the most in your family, in your relationships, you will treat them like family. So I decided one year, and I used to go to this house party. I have my husband's best friend's wife, Jamie. I have to give credit where credit is due. Jamie used to host this party called Favorite Thing Gift Exchange because I became their adopted friend because when I moved here, I didn't have any friends. So I became the adopted friends of my husband's friends' wives. So she used to have this Favorite Thing Gift Exchange. It came out of like when Sarah, one of the friend, brought this. Remember the Dawn dishwashing? It's no longer available, but there's like when you put it on, there's like beads. That's like air
Okay.
freshener. So
Yes.
it's a different liquid, but you let it sit on the sink, and then it releases this aroma that's pleasing, right? So one year, we were just at Jamie's party. Sarah brought one for each and every person. So it became a thing every year, like a favorite thing. So that year in 2017, when I wanted to gather women and serve, by serving them, it serves me too. 24 of us. And I just kind of figured out I was an ambassador of the chamber. I had a really good ambassador friend, Sunny Golden, who now works for AC Marriott. And again, every event in your life has a purpose. So
Yeah.
then I went to Sunny and she worked for Warehouse 23. I go, Sunny, I have a dilemma. I'm not experienced in this. I know you're experienced because she worked for the Hilton Hotel 2 downtown. And then Mark Matthias recruited her to work for Beaches. And then she worked for Warehouse 23. And now she works for AC Marriott because Mark is one of the investor for Vesta Hospitality. So it just kind of led to today. But I went to Sunny and said, Sunny, I'm hosting 24 women. I have no business hosting people. I need a private room. What should I do? And then Warehouse 23 had a private room that could fit exactly 24. And I always say, what is downloaded in your mind is already there. You just have to get there first. You have to figure out how to get there because if you were downloaded it, it was meant to be yours. And so it's your calling. And so I hosted this 24 women, but I didn't expect to do it again. I literally called my friend Ki Long Ung, who's a genocide survivor in Cambodia genocide. He shared his story about how he's forgiven the people who's killed his family and his parents through starvation because he worked in the killing fields. Amazing story of
Incredible.
forgiveness, strength,
Yeah.
resilience, all of that stuff.
Gosh.
He inspired the 4 pillars of Friendsgiving Live, which is resilience, forgiveness, strength, and celebration. And so during that year, I still was recovering from the '08 market crash financially because I had financial ruins. And I think a lot of us went through the '08, not spotless, but we were all affected by the '08 crash.
Yes.
So I figured, you know what, in the hopes that I want to become better, I want to do it multiplied with other people. So
Yeah.
I hosted that. And then when the 2018 year, as we got closer to the holidays, a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them have messaged me every which way if we were going to do that thing again. And then Friendsgiving was born. So I quickly thought, you know what? That's going to be about 50 people and I don't know where to host it. But if you bring one more person, I'll figure it out. Everything is figure outable. So then they all said yes. And then there was 50. We hosted it at Three Brothers Winery. Um, I was a member at Three Brothers, and it was my getaway from all the hustle and the bustle. So I would go to their tasting room, talk to Catherine. Catherine was the lady behind the counter. And I go, I have a dilemma, Catherine. And she was like my shrink, kind of. I'd go there and just talk about all my problems and my dilemma while drinking wine. And I go, I need a room that fits 50 people. And she said, have you been to our tasting room back there? And I go, no. She goes, that was the place where Ramona hosted Jesse's
Yes.
celebration of life. That's the winery.
Yeah.
So I go, no, I haven't been in there. How many does it fit? She said 50. And that's when I figured it's already there all the time. It's there all the time. You just have to get to it. So then we hosted it there. And so I figured out, here comes the next answer, because I moved, I took action.
Yes.
Even though I didn't know, I believed I'm so spiritually mature that I believe that it's there.
Yes.
And so I do it anyway, even if I don't see it. So when that year came, it was super successful. Now, right now, it's all manual. By the first year was manual. The second year was manual. I literally collected just enough money. It's all Venmo'd. As the Venmo popped in, I write it down on my spreadsheet one at a time. Excuse me. So then I figured that if I just ask them to bring one more person next year, we'll have 100 people next year. We had 125 in 2019.
Wow.
Before COVID year. And it was at Warehouse 23 on the other side at the event center on the old Red Lion. We hosted it there. And guess what I told Sunny? I go, Sunny, it's been in a trajectory to double every year. I'm scared what happens. I'm excited what happens in 2020, but I'm scared that I won't have a space for 250 people because we had 125. Guess what Sunny says? This space fits exactly 250 people.
Wow.
That's how I know. That's how I know it's already there. All for me. It's already there. I just have to keep moving in that direction because most of us quit when we get challenged. And for me, challenge is exciting because I've known it to be a fact that when I figure it out, the bigger things are there. The answers are there. It's already there, whatever I'm thinking and dreaming about. So we all know what happened in COVID 2020, then 2021. Everybody was still a little bit fearful about coming back to normal life. While COVID was happening, I was so engaged in this mobile app called Clubhouse. It was an audio mobile app. I met people from all over the world, and I met a really good friend. We became really good friends. She's from Vegas. She said, and by now she's heard all my story, and because this audio app, you don't have to shower, you don't have to show up. It's just all audio. We're just talking to each other worldwide. And she said, I'll come visit Vancouver. I've never been, but I'll come visit it and see. By then, Sunny called me and said, hey, you got to bring back your Friendsgiving. So Sunny's been there with me since day one. I go, well, where am I going to host it? And I'm scared because if I'm going to bring this back, I'm going to make it a business. It takes, the 125, it was a lot of manual work. And then I basically lost money every year because I just wanted to be served, but by serving through others too, to make it more impactful and rewarding. So she goes, well, come tour the AC Marriott. It's under construction. You have to wear a hard hat. I'll show you the 7th floor. We climb up to no elevator yet. We climb up to the 7th floor. And here comes a panoramic view of the Columbia River. And because of my conditioning, my immediate question is, I can't afford this. And I'm scared to even sign a contract not knowing we've been breaking for 2 years, not knowing if somebody's showing up. And if I'm going to do this, I'm going to roll out sponsorship and I don't know how that's going to go. So she said, you sold out last year. You can do this. I'll put a condition on the contract that if we lock down again, You don't owe us any money. And I go, okay, let's do it. So then my friend comes and say, you got to bring it back. So sometimes in your journey,
Yeah.
ladies, sometimes when you are that person that don't quite believe it, even though you've proven there's been evidence in your life that you've done it, and a lockdown like COVID takes you out, and all of your creative juices and all of your belief system is has kind of crashed. When you are surrounded with people that has seen you work, has seen you deliver those things, and they tell you you can do this because reminds you of who you really are, those are the people you want to be surrounded with.
Yeah.
And so I did. I built a lot of tech stack. I have tech stack, I have automation, everything is automated, and I also learned a lot about technology. And now I used to say I'm a techno moron. Now I'm like, I love technology. Like you and I are talking on this
Fantastic.
technology platform today.
Yes.
But anyways,
So
I'll
true.
take a breath.
Yeah. No, and,
There's
and, and
so
I'm going to
much
stop you there
that,
because there's so much to unpack. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. So a couple of things here. One that I got from you was basically saying that what you're up to is a living tribute to your mom. Being able to say that what we can do as we're finding our way through heavy goals or maybe uncharted territory that can be nerve wracking. You gave a couple of rules of thumb, and one was basically, take that person that you love the most or one of the people that you love the most and do it for them, do it in their tribute. I know people whose entire life is built on making their parents proud. I still try to, I do still carry on the legacy of, my mom and, the great ways that she touched the world in my life and in her lifetime, and being able to keep bringing that essence of teacher, mentorship and all of those things forward. You also shared about if something's scaring you, you don't need to know all the answers. And what you're talking to reminds me of a coaching call. We had a coach, Mike Shum, on this, weeks ago. And basically he said that the difference between coaching men and women is that women tend to be slower to launch, slower to take action. And we've had a couple of people that really specialize in being able to do that. And what you said is, look, you only know one answer, and then you go forward. And it's through taking action that you're able to see successive answers revealed to you. And I think that's, brilliant and so important because yes, women may be amazing planners, but there are so many things in business, in life, and in the world of industry that are not going to be known until you launch. Krista Mayshore had said, you don't even know the 7 mistakes you've already made in your plan because you haven't launched it yet. And that's actually only when you will know that. And like you were working with numbers on the fly. So I want to pivot real quickly. You often distinguish between being the operator and being the owner. What habits or mindsets helped you step out of, hustle ownership mode or operator mode and into true ownership of your life, your story, and your business?
yeah. If you think about a movie, there's a director that tells everybody what to do, how to act, how to behave, right? And when you look at a business operator versus a business ownership, and I always say I teach the ownership part of business ownership because there's two parts. It's a two-word phrase, business ownership. And many times, startups, because I deal with a lot of women startups, many times the women startup founders are always operating, wearing everybody's hat,
Yes.
or they'll do things based on because I do it better, so I'm just going to do it. I do it better, faster, and cheaper. I'm just going to do it anyways,
Yes.
right? And so, unfortunately, we only have 24 hours in a day. I don't know anybody that has more than 24 hours in a day, and so you really got to become you have to go to the ownership side. You have to learn how to operate as a CEO, as an owner, as the director of your movie. That way you can delegate. And, it's one way of saying delegation, or tell everybody what you want happen. Like, you are a great delegator. I saw you interact with Sam, your assistant, and you have to be a great director in your movie because you
Love that.
can't do it all.
Yeah, so good.
And that's kind of the shift that I created, just looking, I have this gift of maybe deconstructing a word, and really, because I had bad English and broken English when I started in America. And so I had to carry a small mini dictionary back in the days. We're now aging ourselves, but
Yes.
a small dictionary, because if I were having a conversation with you and there's a word that you said that I don't understand, quietly, of course, I'll take mental notes, but quietly, I'll go back in the quiet and scan my dictionary and look at what that word means. And that's one way of adding to your vocabulary. The other way that I added to my good English now was to learn how to communicate through speaking with Toastmasters. So
Oh, yeah.
fortunately, as a up and coming leader in the financial world, I was invited to sign up for Toastmasters to support my communication skills. Not for me to speak in front of many people, but really just, I think when you learn how to speak in front of many people and you put yourself in the uncomfortable situation, you start conversing with people and communicating the right way. Your communication skills improve.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful for Toastmasters for that. And so that's how I added to my vocabulary, but I would deconstruct words like, for example, this is just off the top of my head, off the cuff, that I remember that I deconstructed as I'm going through my journey. It's process and success. So
Mm,
process, if you take the SUCC of success, which is suck, and then cess, which is the last word, or the last part of process, you have to go through the process in order to, which is, the process sucks, right?
yeah.
The process is never fun. And so success, so it has to suck first before you become success. So you put that together and it becomes success. Sucks. So that's one of the things that I have deconstructed, and I'm like, okay, I'm spiritually aligned. There's a reason why these words are the way they are. It's because they have codes in them. Maybe I'm crazy, Heather, but
I
I
love
feel
it.
like words have them.
Yes, I love it. Well,
So
and so much
that's
is coming
the shift
from
of
those
it.
those root words, and just the fact that we often say all your growth is on the other side of discomfort or struggle. Right? The struggle is the win. Embrace the journey, embrace the suck. I've heard that one quite a bit, and it's true because in sales related professions, or if you're ever running a business ever. And by the way, let's talk about parenting, because not every day is easy. But if you understand your why, if you're committed to the outcomes, if you have some guidance inside yourself or outside yourself to help you, then yeah, just I think you're making such a good point. They cannot be the expectation that it's all easy and you just go with where the easy flow is, because you're not going to get where you're going. And there's many people, the statistic of businesses below 5 years, that completely evaporate, just go out of business. Owners quit, give up, run out of money. The survival rate of a business after 5 years, if they've made it through 5 years, is basically interminable, and they will not close. But that first 5 years is where they're going to have so much struggle, so much difficulty and challenge, new things. They're going to have to go from rainmaker, like you said, and just being like the operator and the person wearing every hat, to someone who really learns to delegate, learns to scale. Usually getting successful, oddly, is one of the early success, or success at any point in that first 5 years, is oddly one of the things that closes a lot of businesses, because they don't know how to scale, and they find that all of a sudden everything is failing because one person can't do all the things that they're trying to do, and they have to figure out how to delegate, how to replace themselves in certain ways, how to let go of some control in order to be able to take care of more things better. Because if you're doing everything all the time and you get busy, it means that you may not be doing any of those things really very well or excellently. So well taken. I love that. You lead multiple businesses, you host major events, you invest, you create content, and you raise a family. What internal practices or boundaries help you honor both the entrepreneur or, and the human inside of you? So, what does Kareen do every day to be able to be ready for the day ahead? What ways do you organize yourself? And I think this just goes to the granular daily operation of how does someone who's really successful and just launching new things all the time, how do they manage both of that balance and also being able to keep your mindset and all of that fresh every day?
Yeah, I think that it has to do with recovery and being really good at not talking to yourself, but reflection, making time with your
Wow.
daily reflection,
Yeah.
whether it's a morning routine or a nighttime routine. And I now have a nighttime routine too, because I was always stuck in the morning routine, as that's what everybody's saying.
Yeah.
But I heard a thought lead, can't remember who it was, that the secret of a good morning routine is a great nighttime routine, because all of these affects each other, right? And
Yes.
so if you are I mean, obviously, you could be a night owl, you could be a early riser. I'm more of a morning person than a night owl. I'm out by 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I have created a nighttime routine as well to bookend my day. So it's all bookending the day, open the day, close the
Yeah.
loop. Because sometimes, as multifaceted serial entrepreneur, we can have all these loops open. I mean, think about your computer. I have in mine right now, I'm looking at my tabs. I've got 25 tabs open. And so think about your brain as like a computer system.
Guilty. Yes, guilty.
We're both
It's
using.
my operations manager thinks I'm insane. I've got way too many.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
think about your day as that. And you're looking at your tabs and how many tabs are open in there in your brain. And if you don't have a system to close those tabs or reboot your computer, it's not going to go, you're always going to be reactive. And so being proactive by closing the tabs every single day and then in the morning rebooting your computer system, which is your brain, and to
Yes.
optimize the performance of, and your output grows actually. Like I think people think it's counterproductive, but I feel like when I sleep, when I have a sleeping schedule, I wake up on time. And by the time 6 a.m. comes, I've finished, I've basically done like a whole day that most people, it takes most people the entire day to finish because I've already woken up earlier than a lot of people. And so getting quiet in the morning, I spend about 45 minutes to an hour to get quiet to really, um, connect to source. Again, it's like computer system. If
Yeah.
you can't connect to your Wi-Fi and you don't have a strong connection, you're going to have a spotty connection. It's the same with your brain and connecting to source. If you're spiritual, you'll have a spotty connection to your source and you can't see a lot of things even if it's in front of you. And this is why this is why I feel it's essential, because in order to start on a clean slate every day, because you closed all the tabs last night, you get to see all the things you would otherwise walk by. Because a lot of people will walk by the answers to their quote prayers. And the reason the reason that you didn't notice the answer is because you just go, react, react, react. You're not proactive. So I do spend some time in recovery. That's what I do in my operation. And then I've been doing this experiment where, as a society, we're expected to work 5 days a week and then we're expected to take off on the weekends.
Yeah.
Um, I've been doing the experiment where I cram my week into 4 days. So I started just taking half a day off day, I would say call it flex days, because I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily turned off from work. Work is just not a big priority on a certain time of the day, but it's a flex day where, hey, if I get a phone call, I'm going to answer it, because that could be business. That could be money coming my direction. But it's not my main focus. My calendar is blocked. So 4 days, and now I'm on a three day work week,
Wow.
where Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I work 12-hour days. On those days, work is a priority. 12
Yeah.
to 16-hour days. It's a priority. And I spend Monday and Friday as my flex days. They're planning days to execute what I want to execute and achieve my weekly goal. And then
So
the
good.
last day of the week, which I call it Money Monday and Financial Freedom Friday. So
Ah,
Friday, I look at my next week to see if I have gaps in my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday calendar. And whether I'm meeting with someone or not, I will put something on those calendar, whether it's I'm working on my book. I make sure
yes.
that it moves the needle, whatever I fill the gaps, or follow up, or, whatever. I had
Yeah.
lunch with, and then sometimes I'll look at my past calendar and look at, okay, I had lunch with Heather 2 weeks ago. I need to check in with Heather to see how she's doing. Like, it's just like a lot
Yeah.
of planning, proactivity, as opposed to reactive. And then Friday is also reflection. Like, what did I do this week? Did I just waste away my week? Did I produce something this week? What's my output look like? It's constant recovery and measuring what happened that week, because I always tell people, and I have a quarter ahead framework that I talk about, and I am going to share it in my Becoming Bankable Live. But this is, I'm always working a quarter ahead. But most people will set their annual goal. And, you're in real estate, you probably expect your team to coach them through their annual goal.
Yes.
But annual, because it creates this perception that, oh, I have a whole entire year. I got
Yes.
time. You don't got
Yes.
time. I'm sorry, but you don't got time, because right now I'm already by mid-November, mid-quarter, current quarter, I'm already I'm already a quarter ahead. So
Love
by
it.
November 15, I started minimizing my promotion about Friendsgiving, because Friendsgiving happens on Q4, right?
Yes.
I started dwindling down, and then I started dwindling upwards for what I'm promoting for next quarter. So I started working. I say the quarter of my brain is trying to finish the year strong, but the 3/4 of my brain have left 2025. It's already it's already in 2026.
This is
So that's
fantastic. Yeah, this is fantastic, and I love it. I just want to package a couple things that you said there. Basically, this idea that it's not really volume of time or hours in a week, but how you choose to spend those hours with efficiency and focus. And you're proving that a business or multiple businesses can be run really in 3 days a week to maintain those businesses, and then what you're using, up to 20, 25% or more, or 30% of your working time is now being used to make sure that you are growing, planning, and, taking care of those gaps and those future projects. Number one. And then number two, I love the fact that you're really dialing down to yes, we need to exist on our brains don't really go for a year at a time, even if we think a calendar, clearly a calendar does. But you're pointing out something very human, which is that our brains do not go for a year at a time. And so, thinking more on that quarterly basis. And then I love what you said about literally focused planning and strategy of one quarter to the next. By mid quarter of the one you're in, what are you doing to make the next quarter successful already? And because you're so far ahead, I'm sure by mid quarter of the one you're in, what goals are getting success for the quarter that you're in. It's already kind of baked into place because you didn't start at the beginning of this quarter. You started a full 2.5 months ago or 3 months ago in the middle of the last quarter or beyond, planning for where you're at now and knowing that success. And I also love what you said about just that advertising. So whatever you're up to, whatever you're launching, that you can be really thinking ahead of that. And if it's already successful, why are you still pouring money into that promotion? But you need to already be out ahead. We all know a successful event is a good 6 to 8 weeks or even 9 weeks of promotion. So the fact that you need to be far in advance. And then just last thing, filling those gaps in the calendar. I had to write that one down. I'm working on a book now as well. And so, and I would love to share that with my agents where, just being able to fill in those gaps and know that you consciously can choose and to time block. I think a lot of us think about time block as, okay, here's how I'm going to spend this many hours a week doing this, or every Tuesday I'm going to make calls and then I'm going to go do this and I'm going to do meetings. But what you're doing is saying, I'm looking for gaps and I'm going to fill them in with a way that I could use my time meaningfully. I had a question for
Yeah.
you, and this is about your upcoming event. I'd love to hear your feedback on that as well. And that is, tell us about what you've got coming up. I mean, yes, we've got the Friendsgiving, and that's coming up very soon, but you also have this fabulous event. I was telling you, I loved your promotion of that when we first got on the call today. Can you tell our audience about what is going to be happening?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to tell your audience. It is a 4-hour programming over brunch only because it's a women empowerment event. So women love to drink their mimosas over brunch. And it is to empower women to give. The big collective vision is to give 100 million to localized nonprofits.
Yeah.
So it's not the big nonprofit that has unlimited budget and unlimited grants from the government or whatever, but it's for the small grassroots nonprofits. So everything is localized. It is 4 hours of programming. I do a lottery for speakers. So if you want to speak, you have to be an attendee, and that's kind of your ticket into speaking on the stage. And then you got to be brave enough to put your name in the lottery because I draw the name in front of all the women that day before we leave. And then you have a year to prepare. So speakers, local speakers that I used to be one of those that, when you're new, you don't get the opportunity to speak in people's stages. It's just the way the game works. But I decided that if I'm going to accelerate my own life and taking ownership again, going
Yes.
back to the ownership, if I'm going to, it's not their fault. I don't have the speaking experience. That's okay. But if I'm going to take ownership in my own life, I can just create my own stage. And so in
Yes.
essence, it's my own stage, right? But also consciously, the way that I do it is very conscious entrepreneurship. So consciously remember one of my core values is never forget where you came from.
Mhm.
And so where I came from was this beginner speaker that were not given any opportunity to speak on stage, even though I know I could speak life into people.
Yeah.
So because of that experience, I want to be that person for the other women and pay it forward to remember where I came from. I came from being a beginner, and I want beginners' voices to be heard in my own stage. And so that's why I do the lottery. You don't have to have the qualification. The only qualification you must have is your courage, and your courage to
Wow.
speak in front of 100 and some people, because that's who I was and that's who I want to serve. I'm serving the old versions of me. And
Mhm.
that's how we do it. And the four speakers that represents or they get to pick which pillar they want to use as a star of their talk. They only have 13. It's very much like TED Talk. 13 minutes. And you have to choose from the 4 pillars. You have resilience, forgiveness, strength, and celebration as the star of your talk, because we have a whole life story and we don't have a whole life's time.
Yeah.
So you're only given 13 minutes. So you have to choose one pillar. And then, of course, for context, you could touch on the other pillars as you're telling your story. But That's the framework we use. Is we use the pillars of the event. And then, people that are not known, they come to my stage and they talk about their life. If your tongue can speak what's in your heart, I feel like you can make a difference.
Wow.
And so that's one of those. Brunch, a really cool brunch spread is included. I have chair massage sponsors, so we'll have 2 to 4 chair, depending on the vendor. I'll have 2 to 4 chair massage. It's really a whole experience. And then the magic table experience is the heartbeat, where you share. I also have a lot of favorite things this year, Heather, and I am doing
Yeah.
2 favorite things. Because now that you've come, you're going to start collecting throughout the year. Oh my God, I love this. I'm going to write this down for my favorite
Yeah.
thing next year.
So good.
That's what I've been doing. And it's called, it's gifting based on giving and meaning. Because I have some women, again, women, we always worry about everything. Well, like, what should I do? What should I give for my 9 practical things? And then some women make their practical things. Like one year I got a barbecue rub, because there might be some resources that are limited for some people.
Yes.
Barbecue rub. One year, even I gave a small cutting board that's like this big for like lemon and lime, and it was only $3 each.
Yeah.
It's about the giving, the act of giving. It's not about the gift.
Yes.
And it's about the meaning of the gift. So both of mine has meaning, and because that's what you share in your table. It's going to be noisy, but you share that to your table mates, why you're giving it. What I do frown upon is when people give a $10 gift card, because what's the meaning in that? Because we've had those, right?
Yeah.
That's what I frown upon. But those are the last minute kind of people. Like, don't be, and again, going back to planning, recovery, looking at strategy. There's no strategy in last minute. And then people can see how you show up in the world when you don't have strategy, because you're always reacting. You get attracted to people that you could tell they're so organized. They have strategy. Their thought leadership lands. Like, you could tell which one of those people that are out there. So it's how you show up is going to, but the recovery period, the flex days is going to give you that image of how you show up. Now, is your life perfect? Never. There's always the struggle behind the scene. There's a lot of behind the scene things, but in attraction marketing, in conscious marketing, in thought leadership, you have to show up as a leader, and leaders don't put their laundry out in the open. They keep it private. They quietly solve their problems, and then they just rise above it.
Yeah, I love that so much. So many good things. So I know that our time is nearing an end, and I wanted to ask you a couple more questions. Looking at your own journey, what are the non-negotiables, whether in finances, mindset, or daily discipline, that you believe make a business truly bankable and a woman truly unstoppable?
Make time for your money, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I say make time for your money, I feel like it's never about the money, but when you are engaged with your financial journey and you're engaged, because business is unfortunately very much so like a financial journey. When you are engaged with where the money's coming from and where the money's going, and I always talk about profit and loss, most people pay attention to the top line and the bottom line. And I called my business strategy business bottom line, because that's what the banks care about, is your bottom line. The top line, the owner cares about the top line. The banks care about the bottom line, and nobody cares about the middle. It's where it's at. It's in the middle, and the middle takes time to sit down, make an appointment with yourself. Even if you have a CFO, even if you have a bookkeeper, an account, engage in that process, because that's how you know, shoot, I didn't do well this month. I was only half my goal. I need to refine. And that's another thing with planning. You have time to refine. You don't have time to refine when you don't plan. You react all the time. So the refinement process is easy to make when you make time to plan. So when you are dealing with your day to day, it's really important. That's my non-negotiable, is to engage every week. It's not every month, it's every week. Now, when the profit and loss shows up, yes, I read it and it's a meaningful document that nobody's paying attention to
Yes.
in business. And then the other non-negotiable is workout. I work out 4 days a week. My workouts run from an hour to 2 hours, just depends. But I work out Friday because those are my flex days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That's it. Because remember, my 3 days is a focused day for work.
Yes.
It's execution on 3 days. So I'm also working towards cramming it to 2 day work week, like focus day, 2 day. Because I could work 30 hours in 2 days.
Yes.
I could work 40 hours in 2 days. I don't have to stretch it to a week. I could work, but that's what I want to do. And then eventually you start relinquishing control. And then hopefully you can just do the 1 day focused a week of, 12-hour days, 16-hour days, and then you're done for the week. You're just flex. So that's the experiment I'm trying to do, is narrowing down my output, see if I can release the same output in a 2-day period.
Fantastic.
As opposed to, yeah.
Fantastic. I love it because
morning and nighttime.
look what you're gaining if you do that. And then, yes, please continue.
Morning and nighttime routine is obviously a non-negotiable for me because it has served me well. And when I say all of that, that's not the final me. I'm always evolving. So while it's a non-negotiable, it's also open to evolution. It's when I say non-negotiable, it's something I need to do every day, but it's not something I don't adjust as I move forward. It's very open to refinement because it's constant refinement process.
Yeah. So good. As you continue building Friendsgiving Live, growing your companies and expanding your impact, what future vision is pulling you forward, and what legacy do you want women to feel, know, or learn because of your time, on this earth?
The legacy, I actually have an epitaph. Or is that called an epitaph?
Yep.
The one that you
it's
have
basically
your death.
what would be said about you, or maybe what's on your gravestone, or what would be said about you,
Yep.
eulogy or an epitaph. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really kind of twisted, morbid thing to do, but nothing keeps you more alive than knowing what your epitaph is going to be. And I know it's about your legacy. Yeah, I always, even on my LinkedIn profile, I'm looking at it and about me page. On the end, I put legacy. Have you ever thought about what your epitaph is going to say?
Wow.
And then my epitaph says, she empowered you to build wealth and give some of it powerfully. Because that's always been my center, is to make a lot of money, but also use a lot of it to increase your multiple streams of impact. So money can mobilize a lot of things, right? Money is just an amplifier of who you really are. So
yes.
I am someone that's building wealth. I'm someone that's giving some of my wealth. And so if I have more money tomorrow, it's just going to amplify who I already am. It's not going to change. Granted, some of it will change people, but it just mobilizes my vision, If I have a lot of money, now I know that $100 million sounds crazy, a lot, but I've already done the math of when Friendsgiving Live is next year. We just got our trademark. I'm going to scale it and sell licenses to local female leaders in their own space, in their own town, and localize the giving, all of that. And so I've already done the math, how many licenses I need to sell to achieve 100 million by 2040. Because remember, it's already there. You just have to get there.
I love this. 100 million. And just think the impact that, you guys will be able to make with local giving at that scale, and not just the impact of the donations, but also the impact to the people's lives who participate and who become a leader of a local, chapter, whatever, of Friendsgiving, is really an incredible vision, and one that, I'm excited to participate in about a week or so. And I look forward to participating. Well, I can tell you this has been an amazing conversation. There's so much for the audience, so much for them to take away. We will post links and information on how all of you can learn more and participate in something that Kareen is doing. And this has been an amazing conversation. And I just thank you so much. I have such gratitude for your time with us. And what a great episode for you and I to be discussing coming into the holidays. So I absolutely love it. Thank you for being such a contribution to all of us.
Thank you so much for holding space, Heather. I appreciate it. It's an
You're
honor.
so welcome. Thank you. Well, folks, that's it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on Women Who Rise, the success podcast for ambitious women. Today, Kareen taught us what is in your mind that is meant to be. It is yours. You just have to get there. And what she was really talking about is, if you're inspired to create something, if you're inspired to, create a business or an event or whatever that is, just know it's yours. In her mind, it belongs to you. It is meant for you. That's why it occurred to you. You just have to get there. Understanding that it's assured if you simply take the steps to make it happen. I absolutely love that. Next, take action after just one answer. So she said you don't have to know all the answers to launch something or how to take action. She takes action after just one answer occurs to her in the planning stages of something. Then she said when she takes action, the next answer, the second answer, will occur to her. She then takes action on that. And then the third will occur to her. So instead of sitting and plotting and plotting and planning and not knowing answers and logistically not sure how to figure things out, she has learned to trust the process, her process, which is have it, get one answer, immediately act on it. You don't have to know the rest. It will come to you as you're taking action. Very similar to what a lot of coaches have said on this show, and absolutely brilliant. Next, she talked about daily recovery and reflection, having a morning and an evening or night routine. She talked about book ending your day with those two things, that basically by the time she wakes up the next morning, she has already set her whole day up for success because of what she has done for her nighttime routine. Personally, for her nighttime routine, one of the things she talked about was closing the loops. So she compared all the open, I'm literally looking at all the open, tabs on my computer. She said, you have to realize that after a day of work, you have those tabs open on your mind, on your brain. You need to close those loops. So whatever that looks like for you, maybe you're jotting a few notes down, maybe you're planning something, maybe you're planning the next action, or maybe you're actually completing something. So she said, very important, close those loops for the day. Allow your mind to reboot, have that, nighttime routine, whatever that is. Maybe that's a quiet time or whatever. And then have your morning routine, which for her is also being present, having some quietude in the morning. And then she's experimenting with compressing her work week. I thought this was a great idea. So can you compress the meaningful function of your job, whatever that is, into less hours in a day, or even compress them into less days in a week? For entrepreneurs in particular, this would be, I think, a critical skill, because if you can compress the daily doing and running of the business and customers that you have, then those business goals can be met with less time. And if you're able to compress and hyper focus and really time block those things, or even into certain days, then for the most part, you will actually free up time to do other things. And so critically, what she's doing with that is writing that book and doing, completing other business goals, launching other things, maintaining important relationships, and maybe even having time for oneself. So, really great stuff there. And then, visit our website to find our episode guide and the worksheet that will help you use these tips to take action in your own life. Like and subscribe and join us everywhere podcasts are streamed. We can't wait to bring you more incredible content every week so that you can rise in your own lives and careers. Again, thank you so much. Heather Mansy, signing off.